Good morning, YouTube. Got this fucking question. This nigga wants to know, yo, Elliot, can you get stronger while you're cutting? Very good question. Question I asked my uncle, who was a bodybuilder many years ago. And I asked my Uncle E, like, yo, how do you lift when you cutting, right? And I thought he was gonna tell me some shit like you gotta do more reps, you gotta tone the muscle up, right? By doing a whole lot of repetitions. And he said the complete opposite to me. And I wasn't even asking about getting stronger. I was asking like, how do you lift when you cut? Because he was just fucking jacked, lean and jacked. And he won a bodybuilding contest at age 40. If I have a picture, I'll put it up. But he says to me, oh, well, you got to keep getting stronger. And I was like, what the? I was like, don't you just cut your calories? And he's like, yeah, but you got to focus on getting stronger while you cut it. That shit didn't make any sense to me. I was young, so I was like, oh, okay, Uncle Elroy. I just believe anything he said. I still believe everything he says because he's a great athlete. He's an amazing athlete. Became a bodybuilder. But before that, he was a martial artist. He ran marathons. He was just all kind of shit. All around athlete. So later on, years later, that stuck in my mind because like that didn't make any sense. But I was like, okay. Many years later, studying Pavel. You guys know Pavel? Pavel, he's like the guy that invented the kettlebell, or he popularized the kettlebell. I was reading this book by him called Power to the People, I think it was called. Weird ass fucking name for a kettlebell workout book. The dude is Russian, so he lived under communism, so he had probably some strange ideas and experiences and shit in Russia. But he wrote this book, and in this book, he's talking about the different types of muscle that you build based on how you train. And he made a distinction between myofibrillar muscle and sarcoplasmic muscle, right? And so when you're building, the difference between the two, myofibrillar muscle hypertrophy is like when you're actually adding muscle fibers to the muscle. Like your muscles, they're not just growing, they're increasing in myofibrillars, right? Muscle cells. You're actually getting more real muscle, as opposed to sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. And sarcoplasmic hypertrophy is like how it sounds, right? Like it's sarcoplasm, right? Plasma. Think about plasma, right? Like you ever watch Ghostbusters when you was a kid? And they would spray the ghosts with plasma. It's like just like this sticky, gooey, slimy shit. Plasma, blast them with plasma. So you got fucking plasma in your muscles, nigga. You got plasma, and it comes from your blood. And what happens is there's a type of training that supports myofibrillar hypertrophy, and there's training that supports sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. And sarcoplasmic hypertrophy is like fluid in the muscle. Now, don't get me wrong, your muscle is growing when you do sarcoplasmic. It's growing, but the muscle fibers aren't actually growing. You're not necessarily getting more fibers. And when you have more fibers, you're actually getting stronger. So you can see where I'm going with this. You could build muscle with sarcoplasm, legit, like, yo, dude, muscle swole. But to actually build real muscle that gives you strength, right? Like, because what is muscle? Muscle's there to help you move, to help you be strong, not just to be puffy, right? Puffy muscle syndrome, right? Like, okay, you got big muscle, but you're not strong because plasma don't do shit. I can't say that. It transports nutrients and it does good shit like that, but it doesn't. It's not contractile, right? It's not contractile like the actin and myosin inside the myofibrillars, right? I remember this shit from biology. So how do you do each? And I'm going to talk about the benefits of each, and I'm going to give you my opinion on some things here, basically based on what I'm doing as I'm leaning out and getting shredded, but also stronger too. So I'm going to give you a bunch of different things here to think about. So just based on the two different types of muscle fiber, how do you get each? So myofibrillar hypertrophy comes from tension, heavy lifting, tension. So Pavel was talking about squeezing real tight when you hold a kettlebell, and it causes, I forget the name of the term, irritation, but basically the tighter you squeeze something, the more force you're producing through that muscle and the nervous system, and that's how you build this myofibrillar muscle, right? You have to, because you can't go so heavy with kettlebells. So, I know a dude who knew what he's talking about, but he's talking about it in terms of like kettlebell. Squeeze the kettlebell harder, right? Squeeze the kettlebell. And so when you're lifting heavy weights, you don't need to remember to squeeze the shit because it's fucking heavy. And if you don't squeeze, it's just gonna fall on you or something, right? So that's how you build the myofibrillars. You build the myofibers by lifting heavy fucking weight, right? But that muscle is small. Muscle fibers are small. Think about like they're fibers, right? As opposed to plasm, right? If somebody had a plate of fibers and plasma, you look at it and you'd be like, oh, that's like thin, right? It's like a little fiber. Plasma is like gooey, like a glob, right? So when you lift heavy, you're building tiny fibers. So the muscle doesn't actually get like bigger. Don't get as big as when you pumping plasma in that shit. So lifting heavy builds the fibers. Fibers make you stronger, but it's dense. It's dense. It makes the muscle dense, not big. But with the sarcoplasm, the plasma-filled muscle, you're pumping it full of plasma. And so the muscle is like, it's not as dense, it's puffier, and it's produced by higher repetitions, right? Like bodybuilding repetitions, high repetitions. And there was a season where I was doing 100 rep sets, and I tell you, shit actually works. Like your muscle's gonna pump the fuck up. You might not get stronger, but it'll pump up. It'll have some big old pumped up muscles, right? And I can't say you won't get stronger. It's just a different kind of strength. It's a different kind of strength altogether. So what do you do when you're cutting, right? How does this work when it comes to cutting? So I heard this concept from Rusty Moore. If you don't know Rusty Moore, it's probably because he doesn't make YouTube videos. He was an ebook producer, and he wrote a blog. But I'll tell you this, he was highly influential to Greg O'Gallagher. Y'all might know Greg O'Gallagher on YouTube. He's a lean, shredded, smart dude. He's a cool kid. I like him a lot. And he learned a lot of stuff from Rusty Moore. Because I remember Greg O'Gallagher when he first started, because he and I first started around the same time. He's a young dude. He's only 33. I started at 33. He's been doing this shit, I think, since he was like 20, right? And he interviewed me on his podcast. You might not even believe that. This is like 2012. So smart kid. Anyway, if you look at his body, he's called Kino Bodies, his YouTube channel. Look at his body. He follows the advice that I'm about to give you that comes from Rusty Moore, right? So I'm just giving credit where credit's due. And Rusty Moore was talking about shrink wrapping your muscle with your skin. Like, just think about that. Like when you shrink wrap something, right? Like just imagine the skin that like pulls tight. And so he had this concept. I don't know if it's bro science or not, but like, look at Kino Body. This is his philosophy. He follows this. And he lifts heavy. He's a little dude and he lifts heavy. And so by focusing more on myofibrillar hypertrophy, heavy lifting, while you're cutting, right? Now this makes sense for my uncle, right? Coming back full circle, my uncle. What happens is, because your muscles aren't pumping up, your skin starts to shrink wrap around the muscle, right? Because it's not big, right? If Greg O'Gallagher come in with a t-shirt, extra large t-shirt, he was just gonna look like, what do they call it? Like sleeper gains. He's just gonna look like, he's just a dude, right? Because the muscles aren't big and pumped up. And so so all the fluid, all the fat, all the shit underneath the skin is absorbed out, and the skin just shrink wraps across the muscles. You get the striations and shit. You get the striations. Just, shrink wrap is the best way to describe it, right? the skin just right into the muscle. And the way to get, so Rusty Moore, I think he called it 3D muscle look, right? Like the way you get that 3D muscle look is you while you're shredding, while you're cutting, you focus on that myofibrillar hypertrophy. Lift heavy, just like my uncle said, get stronger while you're lifting, right? Now, you might be asking, like, how are you getting stronger and you're not eating that much food? Don't worry about it. You lift like you're trying to get stronger. Like maybe the weights don't go up. You're not a power lifter, so you're not that attached to the number on the bar. Don't be addicted to the number on the bar. Be mindful of the type of force you're producing, right? 3, 4, 5 reps, right? 6 reps max. That's what we're talking about, going heavy, right? 3s, 5s, doubles, shit like that. So by doing that, you're building you're building the myofibrillar hypertrophy, and so the skin is starting to suck down into the muscle. And then check this out. Here's how you build a 3D muscle, right? And I'm just telling you shit that I learned from other people. I might do this. I'm going to tell you in a minute about what I'm doing, so you can kind of maybe follow along and just have an understanding. So of how I apply these principles. So anyway, to get the 3D muscle look like a bodybuilder, just chiseled and just popping out, you shrink wrap the muscle, and then right before you're about to, I don't know, be on a bodybuilding stage or whatever it is, spring break, whatever the fuck you guys are into. I don't know why you're lifting. Everybody lifts for different reasons, but if you want to look good for a particular thing, right? Like a moment. About a week or so before that, you pump the muscle full of fucking plasma. Just imagine that. So now the skin is skin wrapped across the muscle, and it's dense and it's tight, and then you fill that shit up with fluid, right? I give you a look like no other. How do you do that? Well, there are a couple things you could do. A lot of bodybuilders will carb load right before they lift, right before they get on stage, right? I'm not don't take bodybuilding advice from me. I'm telling you, like, this is just bro. This is bro, Uncle Yo. But I know they do this. They'll like be sucking on honey and shit like that right before they get on stage, right? What does that do? Fills the muscle with water, right? You don't want to spill over. I hear bodybuilders talking about that. You don't want the water to spill over, but you want to fill it up with water. And a couple of ways you can do that is with carbohydrates, with creatine, and with sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. So they pump up the muscle right before they get on stage, right? They're not, a bodybuilder who's about to get on stage, right, he's not back there doing powerlifting. He's not like, yo, where's the 315 barbell? I need to do overhead presses, doing singles and shit like that, like trying to bust up his fucking joints before he gets on stage. No, he's not doing that. He's doing push-ups, right? He's just trying to fill the muscle up with plasma, right? So anyway, so that's, long story short, that's, where this idea comes from. Yeah. You do get stronger while you're leaning out. Now, if you're anything like me and I've dropped 50 pounds since a year ago, right? And I've been going slow, right? I've been going slow. And my goal was to get to 200. Right? And so and in order to do that, I've been alternating between cutting and lean bulking, cutting and lean bulking. I wasn't totally conscious, but when I look back, I realized that's what I was doing. And now that I've gotten to the point where I'm within shooting distance of where I want to be, my goal all the way through was I want to get to 200 pounds. And I don't want to lose any fucking muscle, because I've lost a lot of muscle before in the past. Doing extreme shit. This is why in Alpha School, I'm telling y'all, we don't do extreme shit. We do this daily sustainable shit that's gonna get you lean over time. I'm not promising anybody fast results in Alpha School. By the way, Alpha School's free. That's my commercial for Alpha School. If you wanna do the things I'm talking about with you here, dude, and you do it with your old Uncle E, go to Alpha School. Alpha School just got a link down below somewhere. So, I'm within shooting distance, striking distance, right? Bang! I'm about to get this nigga. Within striking distance of being as lean as I've ever been with as much muscle as possible, you know, bodybuilding type shit. Not gonna do a bodybuilding show. I'm not gonna do any kind of bodybuilding. I would probably fail bodybuilding because I have so many damn injuries. Look at my right bicep. Some people actually think that looks cool, but you see this big gap here? I don't have that here. That big gap there. It's because I tore both biceps, but this one didn't. It reattached in a weird way. You know, I'm not even gonna talk about it. So now I'm within striking distance, right? And I had a decision to make. Like, I've been cutting my calories steadily, and I'm at like, I'm supposed to be eating at about like 1,800 calories right now if I want to get where I want to go. But I'm going slow. And so what that means is I'm just sticking around 2,000 calories. And I'm still lifting hard in the gym. So I'm at around 2,000 calories. Some days, like yesterday, my parents were here and, you know, and we feasted. You know, had a big meal. And I went over like 2,500 calories yesterday. But it's okay because my plan here is to maintain. And it's important because, like, if you're dropping a lot of weight, you can have like metabolic adaptation. Like, your body could be like, oh, this nigga not eating no food, so let's just slow down. Let's slow down and hold on to as much fat as we can. This shit is true. I've experienced this, and you know it's scientific. So you know, it's not just Uncle Yo bro science, but you go look it up. You decide. You do whatever you want. But so you got to take diet breaks. And a diet break, for me in the past, diet break means, oh shit, cheeseburger and beer. That's not what a diet break is. That's blowing your shit up. A diet break is where you take a break from being in a calorie deficit and you eat maintenance calories. And what that'll do is it gets you to a set point. So like it took me calorie cutting to get to 200. This morning I was 202, right? I went over a little bit because I feasted yesterday, but I'm okay with that because tomorrow, whatever. Today, whatever. When you are at that, so for me, I'm within striking distance. I want to, like, if you're about to strike somebody, and I'm not a fighter either, so don't take my advice. I just like analogies, right? I want to make sure I'm stable where I'm at before I fuck with this nigga. I want to get stable right here before I strike, right? I don't want to strike from a shaky place unless I have to. So I stabilize myself before I have to strike, right? Jab and hook, jab and hook. So I want to be stable. And so I want to be stable at 200 pounds. And so the reason why I tell you this is because what that's allowing me to do before I go for the kill, which I'll probably end up being about 190, but who knows? You know, I don't want to lose any muscle. We always gotta lose more weight than we think we do. It's just the way it is. We always think like, oh yeah, that's why like I talk to the guys inside Alpha School. I'm like, oh, if you have at least 20 pounds to lose, there's a lot of motherfuckers who's like, oh, I got 20 pounds to lose. Like, no, you got 50 pounds to lose. You think you got 20 pounds to lose, but there's a whole lot more fat sneaking in between those organs that you don't even know are there. Dudes' faces and fingers start losing weight, but their belly's still big. So you got a long way to go, bro. So I established this set point. And during the set point with my maintenance calories, I'm getting stronger. I'm getting stronger, not like leaps and bounds stronger. And again, I'm not powerlifting. I'm not trying to get like, world's strongest man stronger. But the weight on the bar is going up. Now here's key. Here's something key. I should have said this earlier also too. Lifting heavy don't just mean like lifting heavy, but lots of fucking volume like it's bodybuilding. You gotta, especially if you're cutting, you gotta bring the volume down. I kind of follow like a higher frequency, lower volume type training right now. So I'm hitting my full body 3 times a week. I'm only doing 1 exercise per body part each time, right? Is there a better way to do it? Yeah, I'm sure there is. I'm just telling you what I'm doing. You go heavy, I'm basically like 5x5 3 times a week. Not really 5x5, I'm doing closer to like 6 and 8s, Some 4s, between 4 and 6 and 6 to 8 is kind of what I'm doing. And so I'm getting stronger and I want to maintain at this set point, my body weight on stage. I'm just gonna dance around 200 make sure that the muscle is comfortable. I'm not burning any more muscle. I'm getting nice and strong, set pointing my weights, right? Like, so for yesterday I did incline axle bench press at 275 for reps, right? So I'm like, hey, if I can maintain it, if I can continue to do this and then drop my calories in a cyclical way, meaning like 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, something like that, that would be the way to go about doing it in order to not lose strength, not lose muscle, but at the same time keep shrink wrapping that muscle, bro. Done.